So yeah, like Laura said, this is the HRIT automation. So typically this is going to be targeting provisioning events that are connected to Microsoft. So traditionally now we see a lot of consolidation around identity. So Microsoft being one of the major players, you see a lot of SSO, security policy and whatnot being applied through Microsoft to your third-party apps, your downstream applications. So taking that in mind and acknowledging the fact that IGA products are typically too expensive to handle identity lifecycle management for those smaller and medium-sized customers. We created this product to basically handle the user provisioning for those small and medium-sized customers inside of the Microsoft environment. So what it's going to do is it connects to your HRMS system directly. It pulls them on a schedule. So typically we see it twice a day, and then it updates the underlying user status, group entitlements, and actual enterprise app assignments according to the updates inside of your HRMS. So a couple key benefits that you see with this is one, it prevents any manual error between the HRMS system and the actual IT system, whether that be through the ticket level, applying privilege incorrectly. Further, it also keeps your HRMS team using the exact same tool they use currently. So they enter the information in the exact same. We extract the information exactly as it is, and then push that necessary information upstream to Azure. So, like Laura said, and like I said, it's a Microsoft focused provisioning platform focused on small, medium sized identity lifecycle management use case.
I want to focus on a couple of key points or high-level business scenario. Number one is Savient and the SailPoint. They're the IGA vendors. So IGA means identity governance, and A used to be administration, but now they're more focused on the automation. So talking about our product is not necessarily governance framework, but it's more identity automation framework. So with identity automation, we basically reconcile user from upstream HRMS, and we can supporting more than one HRMS vendors. And the second of all, our product using the feature from Microsoft Entra called the API inbound provisioning. So we're using the Entra API inbound provisioning as primarily transport protocols. So the third thing I want to mention is these framework supporting both on-prem and also the SaaS provisioning. How we supporting the on-prem is actually part of Microsoft Entra provisioning framework. So Microsoft Entra provisioning framework has a tool called Provision Agent. I think most of you are already aware. That Provision Agent supporting three legacy systems. The first one is AD. Second one is a SQL-based database. This third one is LDAP servers or LDAP compliant servers. How do we supporting the SaaS provisioning? Basically, primarily through the scheme framework provided by the Entra ID. So with that said, I'll turn over to Jacob.
So in terms of going about this, we really wanted to focus in on visibility in terms of the dashboard. We visualize all of your entire Entra identity system as a graph. We have a particular focus on the visibility of your relationships between your departments and your groups and your events. Jackson, if you'd like to click on finance. We can also visualize things such as out of scope privileging for a specific user as a risk line, essentially. This is all done through data analysis. This piece of the product actually only takes about an hour to set up. It's extremely non-invasive. There's a lot to benefit from being able to get this overall perspective. And this is one part of the two prongs of this product. The other one is what, as Robert mentioned, provisioning. Provisioning is similarly a very easy process to set up here. You want to go to the mapping. Here we'll show you how we actually identify what values get placed into either your Entra tenant or into your Active Directory or into SQL or LDAP. This part of the tool actually directly scans your system, tells you exactly what values you have available for mapping. And in addition to that, we'll outline any violations in terms of data type. And this, when you update this, it triggers a update in the database that provisioning events will get kicked off on a custom schedule and update both your Active Directory, your Entra tenant, and your own database. which is what is used to feed the graph visualization tool, as well as those pie charts that represent your JML events on a more fine-grained level, your mover events between different departments, what is most frequently happening in your environment over the span of a month. You can check the status of each service, whether your API on the Azure end is responsive, the core of our product is responsive, and the most recent updates. You can drill down further into this and see exact specifications of each import, each export into AD, and the results of those from Azure.
What's cool to visualize the graphs? Python based. So this app is a Next.js based app, and this front end graph here uses the graph part uses a module called React Flow. Yeah, okay. So it's also TypeScript.
What are some of the challenges we're solving, Jacob, with this platform?
One of the big focuses for us was dealing with smaller organizations, often having legacy HR systems or databases that just hold your HR data. And modern IAM tools like Entra don't actually have native connections for a lot of those things. They don't have the ability to remediate between them, and they don't really have essentially the infrastructure around them that, like, say, your UKG are going to have. So solving that for smaller organizations was a big focus of the provisioning aspect, as well as being able to display to C-suite level employees a visual artifact of an environment that is easily understandable and easily interactable.
Specifically, provisioning is something that is non-negotiable in any organization. So you have to provision accounts with the right level of access when that account is needed to be provisioned. And secure your productivity is a zero-sum game. So if you're spending however many hours managing your provisioning across your Microsoft ecosystem a week, that's that amount of hours that you're removing from your team to actually do the security initiatives inside of your org, complete those projects that are going to save you time in the long run. Provisioning is generally something that has to happen to keep the lights on, but removing as much friction, removing as much pain from that provisioning process as possible allows you to focus your organizational goals and your needs on the projects and initiatives that are going to drive business value, drive the success you're looking for.
So what his concerns, number one, besides identity automation, the second his concern is we think some people have too much access. We need to find a way to stay on top of it. So if you can see our UI, we only have a few key features. We have, using the identity automation terminology, we have day zero, which means day zero means system onboarding process. But majority of effort we spend on day one, which means day one means your daily operational management. From a daily operational management, we give you major three features. The first one is a dashboard, which means on the periodic basis, you can using the time slide to select how many people onboarded, how many people leaving the company, or how many people move because the job title changed. The second key feature, what we have called a high value target. So a high value target, if you can see the diagram here, is engineer translate to IT. Second, finance, account payable, account receivable, compliance, so on and so forth. Sales, HR. These are four division or department or job code has access to most sensitive information for the company. The reason why we pick these four, and also it's customizable, is if you drill down to the engineer team, it shows how many users are part of the engineering team and also what type of access that person has. So there's lots of value in that feature. It just gives you one dashboard or one single pane of access to see, okay, here's my high value department and here are the access this person has.
I love it. And I got a question here for one of the folks in the room. We got some serious identity chops over here. So I wanted to ask Jigger, like, if you're an identity practitioner, you walk into a new shop day one, where does this fall into your priority? Understanding this provisioning piece, working with the HR folks, where does this fall as far as how important?
Definitely very critical and top priority for me. And as I just mentioned earlier, right, I think identity to me right now, I don't see that as a separate function. I see it as like a part of the intertwined part of the entire cybersecurity. It's that fabric, which kind of like covers all these major functions, right? And with HR, as you mentioned, HR it's a very interesting function when we look at it. For example, in my current company, we are the custodians of both financial and clinical data. So we go through a very, very heavy audit and regulations. So if someone who has been terminated, if has access to the critical apps or PHI or financial data, how are you doing your user access reviews, right? So to me, I think it's a really, really top priority as I go there. Yeah, for sure.